So if you're a leader of a team, how can you run a successful incentive? We often use incentives in network marketing, but often the company incentives can really only serve the big recruiters or the top performers. And a lot of times your team members will get pretty sick and tired of seeing the same people win the same prizes, and they're like, oh, no point in even trying. So it doesn't really serve them well. Can do the opposite, can actually push them out completely as opposed to incentivizing them to perform. So here's some tips that I can give you from, I built the 4th highest performing team in a large network marketing company in my very first year. And I use incentives as one of the ways of doing that. So number one, make it so that when someone makes one sale or they recruit one person, that's a win. So I would always, and we tested this and it definitely works better, I would always have something that is, say, ticketed, as opposed to you have to make 8 sales to get anything. Because a lot of people, 90% of network marketers will never sponsor more than 10 people even. So if your prize is like, hey, you've got to get 5 or 8 or 10 people to qualify, most of the people in your team are like, that may as well be 1 million people for me. And it doesn't really help them at all. But if you say, can you make one? Is there not one person who could benefit from what you're doing, this product, this service, this opportunity? They go, I think I can find one. So what we would do is incentives such as, let's say we're giving away a bigger prize, like say a cruise or something like that. We would say, you know what? If every time you sponsor one person, that's an entry in the hat to win a place on the cruise. Now, if you go on and make X amount of sales, you'll get a place automatically. But even if you just make one sale, your name is in the hat to get this, to win a prize. And we would keep maybe 1 or 2 tickets back, and we would have the raffle for those, and the rest would go to people that qualified for them by doing bigger numbers. So everybody gets to play. The bigger earners, they want to be the one to qualify automatically. They want to beat all the other top earners, right? But all the other people in your team who maybe just started, they're like, well, I can get one. And now you end up driving a lot of duplication and growth. And it spirals. If you can make someone make their first sale, they get a taste of that. You say to them, you can do it once, you can do it 1,000 times. The only difference is activity. Now you may have a team member that sparks into life that never would have if it was 8 sales or nothing, right? 8 sales all feel like a failure. So that's rule number 1. Make it ticketed. Find a way you can do that financially so everybody has a chance of feeling that feeling of success and progressing from there. Number 2, keep it fairly short. 1 to 2 weeks is long enough for an incentive without you really, people just lose interest after that. The attention span of the human race is getting shorter and shorter. If you start doing like month-long incentives, it really is hard to get people to do anything for a week or 2. You've got 4 weeks to qualify. Most people leave it to the last week or 2. So you're wasting 2 weeks of your time trying to push this incentive that everyone's like, I've got ages to deal with that yet. Because in our day and age, a month is a long time, right? It's like 1,000 episodes of Netflix for whatever people, right? So there's no point in doing that. So make your incentives, break it down, even if there's a larger prize, break down smaller prizes or drawings or something into 1 to 2 week intervals. And what I suggest that you do, I used to do it weekly, and I'd have a weekly webinar. So weekly team webinar, the prize of the week is going to be drawn, and I'd also give them some training, give them some inspiration, and then G them up for the next week's, prizes and whatnot. So it keeps that flow going. You have to show up on the webinar because you find out if you've won and you find out what's up for grabs next week. You don't want to be like a day or 2 behind if it's only a 7-day incentive. And then in the mix of that, I was able to give people some good training, keep them inspired, so keep that team culture growing as well. So there's a couple of tips for you to really make an incentive work. The first one is really useful. The second one is more useful than you imagine it to be if you start running these things regular. You can build a whole culture around it. Weekly web class, prize, next week's prize. Weekly web class, prize, next week's prize. Everyone can win. Your whole team will start to get enthusiastic and take action and feel they're in with a real shot at doing something. It drives a lot of duplication. If you like my methods, if you like my training, if this was useful, you can go to authoritynetworker.com/webinar. A couple-hour class there about how you can, I sponsored nearly 800 people in network marketing. I did that in a professional, predictable way. I'll teach you how I did that at that web class. It's happening this week. You can reserve your free seat at that link. I'll stick it in the text or beneath here or comments somewhere. You'll be able to find it if you can be bothered to look. As always, go create a day in a life that counts. Always have more desires than excuses. If you're a subscriber, I'll catch you on the next one. And let me know with a like or a comment if this was useful, and I'll create more content like it. Bye for now.